Good day students, welcome to the zoology class, and in continuation to my presentations on reproduction, today I will discuss about the development of human embryo, then parturition and lactation. So in this presentation we will cover our last three topics on human reproduction, and we will discuss each topic, that is development of human embryo, parturition and lactation, one by one. So, development of human embryo, and in case of human beings, the average duration of pregnancy or the gestation period, it is about 280 days or 40 weeks, that is approximately 9 months, and it is calculated from the first day of menstrual cycle, and the time of pregnancy is divided into 3 periods, and each period it is of 3 months, and each period of 3 months it is called as trimester, and in each trimester some type of development of human embryo takes place. It means that the total period of gestation or the pregnancy in case of human beings, it is of 9 months. 9 months means approximately 40 weeks or 280 days, and the first day is calculated from the first day of the menstrual cycle, and whole of the pregnancy or the gestation period in case of human beings, it is divided into 3 periods, and each period is of 3 months. So we can say that each period is known as the trimester, and in all we have 3 trimesters in 9 months. So first trimester, this trimester, it includes first 3 months of the pregnancy, and this is a period of cell division, cell differentiation and organogenesis. It means in this case, after zygote formation, you know that cell division takes place, then cell differentiation takes place, and then organogenesis, that is a formation of organs, takes place, and these all events they take place in the first 3 months. It means first trimester, and after the completion of first month of pregnancy, embryo's heart is formed. When a female completes its first month of pregnancy, we can hear the embryo's heart sound, and doctor can check the embryo's heartbeat with the help of the stethoscope after the completion of first month. And at the end of the second month, fetus develops limbs and digits, and when 2 months are completed, fetus develops limbs, means legs and arms, and fingers, digits means fingers. So at the end of the 6 months, at the end of the second month, embryo's heart is completed, and embryo's limbs and digits are also formed, and at the end of the third month, most of the major organ systems they are formed, and limbs and external genitalia are also well developed, and basic structure of the baby is formed. And when the female completes 3 months of pregnancy, most of the organs and systems of the fetus they are completed, they have been developed, the limbs are developed, external genitalia is well developed. It means we can say that the end of the first trimester, the basic structure of the baby is formed. So during the first trimester, the fetus is very sensitive, and it is very critical time because the proper course of events can be disrupted easily. For example, if mother contracts viral infection, it may lead to abortion or malformation of the embryo. These 3 months are the first trimester of the human pregnancy. It's very sensitive because it is a very critical time, and it is the proper course of events is taking place, and in case there is some disruption, then the fetus is not developed properly, and there is malformation of the embryo, or it may lead to abortion. Abortion means termination of pregnancy. So this stage of first trimester is very crucial for the safe and complete pregnancy. And certain medicines have highly undesirable effects, and the chemical agents in medicines that lead to development of malformed babies, they are called as the teratogens. Suppose in this trimester, if the mother contracts some viral infection or she gets some disease and she takes certain medicines, and some medicines they have undesirable effects, and the chemicals present in those medicines, they can lead to development of malformed babies, or it can lead to abortion also, that is termination of pregnancy. And the chemical agents which cause the malformed baby formation, those chemical agents are known as the teratogens. So the first trimester is very sensitive and it is the developmental stage, so it has to be taken care of. Now comes the second trimester, and the second trimester, it is from 3rd to 6 months of the pregnancy or the gestation period. And this second trimester, it is a period of tremendous growth and development, and you know that as a result of first trimester, most of the organs are formed. Now there is only a growth and the development of already formed organs and systems. And during 5th month, the first movement of the fetus can be felt. When there is 5th month of the pregnancy, the mother can feel the movement of the fetus in belly. And moreover, in the 5th month, there is appearance of hair on the head of the fetus. Now, in the 5th month, the fetus starts developing hair on the head, and at the end of the 6th month, fetus body is covered with fine hair, and eyelids separate and eyelashes are formed. So when there is completion of 6 months, the fetus body is also covered with small hair, and now eyelids, they get separated. At first eyelids are joined, but now at the end of 6 months of pregnancy, eyelids, they separate out and eyelashes are formed at the end of the 6th month. So now comes the 3rd trimester, and 3rd trimester is from 6th to 9th month, and this is a period of growth rather than new development. And in this 3rd trimester, that is from 6 to 9 months, no new development, no new organ is formed, but only the growth of already formed organs and systems, it takes place. And when the pregnancy approaches 9 months, that at the end of 9 months, fetus is fully developed and it is ready for birth with all the organs well formed and able to function. So at the end of the 3rd trimester, that is at the end of the 9 months, fetus is fully developed and it is now ready for the birth, and it has full developed organs, and all the organs, they are about to function, they can function. So this is the 3rd trimester. Now comes the parturition. Now you know that as a result of the 3 trimester, there are the 9 months completion of the pregnancy or the gestation period, the fetus is ready for the birth. Now comes the second topic, that is the parturition. What is parturition? And you know, pregnancy or the gestation, it refers to carrying developing fetus inside the uterus till birth. And on completion of pregnancy, the birth of fully developed fetus, it is called parturition. And parturition or the birth begins with a series of rhythmic contractions of the uterus called labor. And from around 12th week of pregnancy, progesterone secreted by placenta inhibits uterine contractions, and the level of progesterone rises steadily, and around 38th week it starts to fall. Now it means that what is parturition? You know that pregnancy or the gestation in case of human beings, it is of 9 months. And what is pregnancy? You already know that it is the carrying of the developing fetus inside the uterus of the female till birth. That is pregnancy or the gestation. And on the completion of pregnancy of 9 months, when the baby is fully developed, and then the birth of the fully developed fetus takes place. And that birth of the fully developed fetus after 9 months of pregnancy, that is known as the parturition. So we can say that parturition is the birth of the baby, or parturition is the birth of the fully developed fetus after the period of 9 months. And how the parturition starts? Parturition or birth begins with a series of rhythmic contractions of the uterus called labor. It means then when the fetus is fully developed, then the contraction of the uterus starts. So it means there is rhythmic contraction. Uterus contracts, then it stops, then contracts, then stops. So the mother feels pain, and these pains, it is known as the labor pains, and this is the contraction of the uterus. And so this rhythmic contraction of the uterus, it is known as labor. And how it starts? That from around 12th week of pregnancy, progesterone, which is secreted by placenta, it inhibits the uterine contraction. You know, at that time, at the 12th week of pregnancy, progesterone level is high, and so progesterone inhibits the uterine contraction. Progesterone inhibits that the uterus does not contract. So progesterone secreted by placenta, it plays the role of inhibition of uterine contraction, and the level of progesterone, it rises steadily throughout the pregnancy, and when 38th week comes, the level of progesterone, it starts to fall. Now parturition is induced by complex neuroendocrine mechanism, and the signals of parturition originates from the fully developed fetus and the placenta, which induce mild uterine contractions, and those contractions are known as the fetal ejection reflex. And this triggers the release of oxytocin from the pituitary, and oxytocin acts on the uterine muscles and cause stronger uterine contractions, which in turn stimulate further secretion of the oxytocin, and this process continues till the birth of the child. And in addition to oxytocin from pituitary, prostaglandins from placenta, they also induce uterus contractions. It means how parturition starts. The process of parturition starts by the complex neuroendocrine mechanism. Means from pituitary gland, some hormones are released which induce the parturition, which start the parturition. And parturition is started by the signals from the fully developed fetus and the placenta. The signals come from the fully developed fetus, that now the fetus is fully developed, and placenta also sends signals, and that is the time when uterus starts contraction. And this contraction, when the signal is given by the developed fetus and placenta, this is known as fetal ejection reflex. And when there is fetal ejection reflex, this triggers the release of oxytocin. At this time, a hormone named as oxytocin, it is released from the pituitary, and then oxytocin, it acts on uterine muscles, and it causes stronger contractions of the uterus, and when uterus contracts more, this in turn stimulates more secretion of the oxytocin from the pituitary, and in this process, more oxytocin is released, more uterus contraction takes place. When more uterus contractions take place, more oxytocin is released, and this process goes on. It continues till the birth of the child. So oxytocin is a hormone from the pituitary gland which plays a main role in the process of parturition or the birth. But in addition to oxytocin from pituitary, there is one more hormone, that is prostaglandins, and these are released from placenta. They also induce uterine contraction. So as a result of uterine contractions caused by oxytocin and prostaglandins, parturition process or the process of birth, it starts. So we can say that parturition is the result of release of oxytocin and prostaglandins. And now the actual process of parturition, when labor pain starts, they can be divided into 3 stages. We can say the process of parturition after uterine contraction, it can be divided into 3 stages. The first stage is dilation or opening of the cervix. When uterine contractions spread over whole of the uterus, and throughout these contractions the cervix gradually dilates, and with continued powerful contractions the amnion ruptures and the amniotic fluid flows out through vagina. The first step in the labor pain is dilation or the opening of the cervix. What happens when the uterine contraction or the contraction of the uterus, it spreads over whole of the uterus, and when the contraction they continue, the cervix gradually dilates with the contraction of the uterus. And when cervix gradually dilates and there is powerful contraction of the uterus, and the contractions are continued, when the amnion, what is amnion? Amnion is the innermost extraembryonic membrane which surrounds the embryo very closely. So this is the innermost, and with the because of the continued powerful contractions of the uterus, the amnion ruptures, means it breaks. And you know that inside the amnion, between the fetus or the embryo and the amnion, there is an amniotic cavity which is filled with amniotic fluid. And so when amnion rupture, amniotic fluid comes out and it flows out through the vagina and it comes out of the body of the female. Now the second step in the parturition is the fetus is pushed out of the uterus. Now a newborn baby is pushed out of the uterus through the birth canal, and the infant's lungs expand and it begins breathing, and it requires some major switchover in the circulatory system. Blood flow through umbilical cord ceases, and adult pattern of blood flow through heart and pulmonary artery begins. And so it means that second point of parturition is that the fetus is pushed out of the uterus. When amniotic fluid comes out of the vagina after breaking up of the amnion, fetus now will come out of the uterus, and now we will call this is a newborn baby, or it is the infant, and it is pushed out of the uterus through the birth canal. And when the baby is born or the infant is born, infant's lungs expand. Now because you know, now it has to breathe on its own. Now the infant has to breathe on its own, so lungs expand and the infant starts breathing on its own. And now it is a major switchover in the circulatory system also. Now the blood flow through umbilical cord ceases. Now there is no blood flow through umbilical cord, but now there is proper circulatory system function, and now adult pattern of blood flow through the heart and the pulmonary artery begins. So we can say that now proper circulatory system of the infant starts, and infant starts breathing on its own. So this is the second part of the parturition. And the third and the final part of the parturition is the placenta and the umbilical cord are expelled. And usually within 10 minutes after the baby is born, the placenta and remains of umbilical cord are expelled. It means when the baby is born, within 10 minutes the placenta and the umbilical cord, they have to be expelled, because after the birth of the baby, the placenta and umbilical cord, they are poisonous for the body of the female or the mother. So placenta and the umbilical cord have to be removed within 10 minutes after the baby is born. So this is all about the parturition or the birth of the baby, and in this way these 3 points they are covered under the parturition topic. Now the next topic is lactation. So what is lactation? You know that after the birth of the baby the mammary glands of the female, they start producing milk immediately after the birth. And after birth, the first fluid which is released from the mother's mammary gland, that is it is known as the colostrum. It means that immediately after the birth of the baby, the mammary glands of the female, they start producing milk, and this milk, which is the first fluid after the birth of the baby, which is released from the mother's mammary gland, that is known as the colostrum. So first milk is known as the colostrum. Colostrum, it is both nutritious and rich in antibodies. It is slightly yellow in color. It contains no fat and very little sugar, and it is rich in protein and calories. And antibodies present in the colostrum, they provide passive immunity to the newborn infant. So it means that immediately after the birth of the newborn or the infant, the mammary glands of the female, they start producing milk, and the first milk or the first fluid which is released from the mother's mammary gland, that is known as the colostrum. And this colostrum is very nutritious for the newly born baby, and it is very rich in antibodies. It is slightly yellow in color. It has no fat and very little sugar. It has a high amount of proteins, and it has calories. So it is very appropriate diet for the newly born baby. And antibodies which are present in the colostrum, they provide passive immunity to the newborn infant. It means that ready-made antibodies are provided to the newly born baby by the colostrum, and so the newly born baby is prevented or from most of the diseases because of the colostrum, and because colostrum provides many antibodies, and when it provides antibody, it gives passive immunity to the newborn infant. Now there is inhibitory peptide in the milk. What does this mean? If the breasts are not fully emptied, this inhibitory peptide accumulates and inhibits the milk production. So there is an auto control in mother's body depending upon the need of the child. It means the milk of the human female, it contains inhibitory peptide. It means if the milk is not used by the baby, it means the breasts are not fully emptied, this inhibitory peptide, it collects, it accumulates, and it inhibits the further production of the milk. So we can say that there is an auto control in the mother's body, and the milk produced is depends upon the need of the child. So this is all about today's presentation, and in today's presentation we have covered development of human embryo, that is 3 trimesters, then the process of parturition or the birth, and then the lactation. And so this was the last presentation of human reproduction, and so far we have completed our topic on human reproduction. And in this topic we have studied male reproductive system, female reproductive system, spermatogenesis, oogenesis, fertilization, then development of embryo from zygote to the formation of fully developed fetus, then there is parturition, and then there is lactation. So these were the topics which we completed in 8 or 9 presentations, and now this completes the topic on human reproduction, and you have to go through whole of the topic of human reproduction. And if you have any doubts or queries, you can contact me. Thank you.